British Columbia, also known as the most beautiful place on Earth. Approximately 4 million people call this place home. Our city is diverse with art and culture, and where nature is just in the reach of our backyard. We have access to mountains, rivers, valleys, forestry, and the coastline of the Pacific Ocean. However, have you ever wondered what was beneath the surface of our ocean? As human beings, it is important to keep in mind that there are various range of species that live on this earth. From creatures as small as the shrimp, to as beautiful as coral, and strange as the jellyfish. However, the ocean is often overlooked and neglected due to the lack of deep awareness. The ecosystem is trying to adapt to human waste. Some do it by making our litter their homes, but the devastating effects goes even deeper, as animals are mistaken in garbage for food. For instance, a creature's diet that consists of jellyfish can easily mistake one for a plastic bag. We've set out to find expert opinions on the effects ocean pollution has on our coastline. They emphasize how important deep awareness is. We've interviewed SFU marine biologist Dr. Vicki Marlatt and scuba expert and ocean environment activist Tess Hedderich.
We have lots of industry, sewage effluent, metal mines, pulp mills, and historical contamination that certainly near our urban areas and near these urbanized and industrialized places, we have less marine species.
Pesticides and residues going into the ocean, definitely affecting all levels of the food chain. You have plastic, probably 70% of our marine litter is plastic. And the greatest is sewage, right? Industrial, municipal, or households, which just release a lot of toxins into the water.
In addition, climate change is another challenging issue that we face with the increased carbon dioxide in the environment that gets into our marine systems, and ultimately the end result is it acidifies the oceans.
The currents going around, so maybe in the ocean we don't see everything that's going on. I mean, there've been people going down with submarines quite deep and they go down 1,000 feet and still find our trash, right? So we might not see everything in the ocean.
These pollution issues, they're very large issues. We have a lot of humans on the planet, which makes it very complicated. We have a lot of different countries involved because pollution doesn't know boundaries.
The project that we're in 2016, they had about 1,100 surveys. We pulled out altogether 42,000 kilograms of garbage out of the ocean. They came across 1,600 entangled animals and over 7,000 participants. So it was a great way of getting everyone together and cleaning up a global, more like on a global scale rather than a local scale. Locally, what I read is about 9,200 particles plastic per cubic foot, which is definitely an increasing amount of plastic more in our local waters. You have the marine mammals ingesting all the plastic and starving to death. So you have a lot of habitat destruction.
Certainly if you're relying on consuming fish in some areas or shellfish in other areas, for example, Aboriginal people, that is a big source of their food. And communities who rely on fish for sustenance end up concentrating things like mercury in their bodies, which can cause neurological effects and defects in young children as well as adults. So we have this acidification of oceans, and this presents a challenge for Again, shellfish, corals, anything with shells that uses calcium carbonate to build those shells. So we're going to see adverse impacts due to acidification on our marine ecosystems. In addition, with climate change and increased air temperatures, we will see a rise in ocean temperatures. And that as well is going to have impacts on the survival of all sorts of species in our ecosystems, from coral up to large predators.
Well, I guess the most devastating is seeing the underwater life. Things we consume ourselves actually nibble on the plastic, so seeing our food eating our waste, which we consume in the end, was, I think, the most devastating I can see so far.
There seems to be some resiliency in nature. The Britannia mine up in Howe Sound is a great example of a small area, an ecosystem that was significantly impacted by a metal mine. The entire creek was barren of life from the early 1900s up until around 2004. And after putting in a wastewater treatment plant, the river has bounced back, pink salmon are starting to come back, the intertidal zone has more than a dozen species instead of 0. So I think, we should have hope that if we do give nature the chance to bounce back and try to increase our efforts to decrease pollution and climate change issues, we can do it.
So it's interesting to see how people react to trash. I've seen a lot of people not being confident enough to show that they're cleaning up. Like they will almost be embarrassed for their families or friends to see that they're cleaning up. But I think it's a really great thing to do, and it's nothing to be embarrassed about. And I mean, especially how the ocean situation is right now, every hand helps. It's tough to focus on just the local environment, as we have lots of ocean currents that bring in a lot of garbage. So we have a lot of pollution that might not be Canadian pollution, but comes through our oceans here.
I think certainly just decreasing pollution in general, trying to come up with ways to reduce, reuse, and recycle any kind of single-use product, particularly plastic. Plastic, as we all know, is becoming a big pollution problem all over the planet in the marine environment. So I think getting off plastic as humans would help the situation. There are a lot of things we can do as individuals. So, there are a lot of humans on the planet, and if we all change our habits a little bit, especially in first world countries where we have the opportunity to change our habits, we can, for example, reduce, reuse, and recycle single-use products like plastics, of course. We can try to live as chemical-free as possible, from the makeup we use to the deodorant we use to perhaps the pharmaceuticals that we don't necessarily need.
Just being aware, like we take showers, we take all the laundry, all the toxic chemicals that go into the water definitely play a big effect. And it's nothing you see, it's like trash in the ocean you can see, but all those toxic chemicals you can't really see, but they probably have one of the biggest effects, especially in like the reproduction of animals. Getting involved, I mean, there's lots of volunteers opportunities, like local dive shops. A lot of the dive shops set up cleanup dives. The aquarium has the Great Canadian Shore Cleanups, which you could even set up cleanups yourself.
Do your best to embrace renewable energy and try to minimize our carbon footprint and greenhouse gas emissions.
Beautiful British Columbia. In order to be regarded beautiful, we need to implement strategies for effective improvement. As individuals residing in BC, don't be discouraged or afraid in preventing littering or waste from traveling into the ocean. Something as simple as picking up a can or a grocery bag off the ground and placing it in the recycling bins can go a long way. Plastic and chemicals are major issues in contributing to environmental waste. But the issue is much deeper, as these plastic wastes are the biggest pollutants in the vast ocean that surrounds us. It should be noted that this problem is not just limited to British Columbia or Canada. Environmental research studies emphasize how ocean pollution travels with the currents and can endanger many species worldwide. It is up to us as a community to contribute in making our home, our city, and our world a sanitary and safe environment for all species. Humans have a big role, and it is very necessary and essential for us to do our part in bringing deep awareness.